Hi, friends. This is the Nearly Enlightened podcast. I am your host, Gianna Girusso. If you're coming back, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. I am joined by my friend Deirdre D. She was on, you were on a couple of podcasts. Did we do
Yeah,
two,
I think
three?
I think two. I had the honor of interviewing you on one.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. So if you haven't listened to those yet, go back and listen. It's crazy. That was more than a year ago. It's,
Whoa.
I think it's actually closer to two. Um,
Wow.
I know. I think it was 2022, actually. Like at least the first episode. It was a while ago. Anyways, if you need a refresher and you haven't listened to those podcasts before, Dee is a triple certified holistic health coach with a heart rooted in the rhythms of nature. As a gut health specialist, yoga instructor, and Reiki master, she is here to sprinkle a little magic into your life. When she is not guiding souls inward, you can find her blissfully homesteading, nurturing her family's off grid oasis with regenerative farming and intentional living. Think of her as your spiritual cheerleader, which is so true because you're definitely mine. Um, Here to help you dance to the beat of your own drum. She feels inspired to help you weave self-study into your days, creating rituals that light up your life and help you thrive. After all, we're here to shine.
We are here to shine.
Yes, amen. No, seriously, you like have like since we became friends, which we were introduced by Jamie. We talk about it on the past podcasts. We've actually never met in person before. Internet friends, and you have been like my biggest hype person throughout the last couple years for sure.
It's an honor. I love hyping people up. It comes naturally. I think if I see someone or become friendly with someone and I see what they're doing and it inspires me, like why wouldn't I hype that? I
Yes.
think it's a blast. We got to have fun. We got to have fun because it's crazy out there.
Yes. And see, that is I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over the years is like I took health and healing and all of these spiritual practices so fucking serious, and it seriously it nothing sucks the joy out of life quicker than that.
Yes, yes. And that's been coming through a lot for me too recently, actually. So I'm so glad you brought that up. It's just like you can, when you're on this quote unquote path of healing and like really diving into more spirituality in your life and also guiding others, it's almost hard not to get lost in it sometimes. And I think it's like, we also like I had to sit down with myself and give myself a reality check and be like, all right, girl, like what are your foundations? What's going on? Like what can you focus on that like is main basic stuff, you know? Because it makes you miserable if you get lost in it. And if you're I don't know if you're like me, but if I don't do something like very perfect or whatever, like I'm all in. It's all or nothing. And if I screw it up and lied, I'm like, the world is ending. I have to start all over again. So just come back to the basics is I feel like where I'm at right now. I don't know about you.
Yes, it's funny you say that because I feel like this whole summer has been about not taking myself super seriously and just like flowing with what comes up. And excuse me, I have been spending so much time at the beach. Like yesterday, I was at the beach and I was swimming, and it's like just what my soul needs. Like I was,
Joy.
yes, I was supposed to even teach a class last night, and I asked a friend for a favor and was like, "Hey, will you sub my class? Like, I really just don't have the bandwidth right now. Like, I need a break." And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm going back to teaching later today. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm taking like this huge hiatus, but like I just needed a break and I
Yeah.
needed to have a little fun in the sun.
Yeah. And I think when we're in joy, when we're operating from a place of joy and in the frequency of joy, that's when the magic happens. We're not gonna things aren't gonna happen with and for us if we're like in this miserable state.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. It makes everything way easier to just be in or choose that state of joy. Cause like sometimes the world can be burning down around you, but like you still have to have a little fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
And
mean,
I
the world
think
is burning down around us.
I was gonna say we are in a dumpster fire right now. So just be the raccoon. Just that's out there and have fun with it. with what you can. And I mean, I think too, to that point, especially, you teach a lot of classes and you hold a lot of space. And I think as someone who does that, you also really need to take care of yourself, and you really need to be held and supported in order to hold space for other people. Like, I think that that's a huge piece of the puzzle when you
Yes.
do the work we do.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm just like sitting with that for a minute. Like, yeah, I hold a lot of space.
You really do. And I feel like it's whenever I like, if I have a massage therapist, like, for example, if I was going to ask you for a massage, I'd be like, are you getting work done regularly yourself? Like, are you cutting cords after you give someone a massage? Like, those are the questions I ask, because I think it's important, not only for me to protect my own energy body, but for you to be also receiving. When you're giving so much, it's also important that you are receiving, especially when you're
Yes,
space
absolutely.
holding.
Yes, I actually just went to a friend's class on Sunday, and that was like, oh, so good to not be the teacher. I was like, oh, I just get to like be the student and just like be here, be present, listen, and
Yes.
it's so true. It is a fine balance, and like I'm not complaining or ungrateful and by any stretch of the imagination, but it is that walking that fine balance of like doing the work and then also nurturing yourself. And it could be hard to do that as somebody who identifies as a healer or an empath, because you constantly want to be like outputting that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And like if anyone knows anything about human design, I'm a projector. So like I'm just constantly like plugging in to other people. And it definitely has been a practice of like learning how to balance that. And when I was younger, I definitely got caught up in it because I didn't know what the heck it was or like how to deal with it at all. And I think like a majority of my 20s was acquiring these tools so that I like know how to better take care of myself so that I can
Exactly.
show up more fully, show up better, show up energetic. Like it's I mean, even the podcast has been gaining momentum, and this is a way of holding space too.
Totally.
Um
100%.
and my classes have been pretty packed, and I
Yeah.
am super grateful for that. But it's funny, it's like the more joy you find, like the less serious you take it, the more magnetic your energy becomes, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm over here screaming. That's it. That's the juice you want to be drinking right there. Is the
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I've said this in podcasts in the past too. It's like we were meant to enjoy this place. And that's what I kept coming back to on the beach yesterday was like, oh, this playground. It's like so good. Like God created this. And here
Yeah.
we are just like fucking swimming in the ocean. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes like you acquire all these rules, or not rules. Whoa, that
Where's that?
came out weird. I don't know where that came from. Tools, but I think maybe like we acquire all these tools.
Well, we could talk about what the slip that came out too. Like that.
Let's talk about I
Yeah.
guess that's where we want to go.
It's funny because you're in the midst of break method. I have worked with break method in the past, and like they talk about these rules and patterns that we've acquired that like aren't ours. And those are
Oh,
the things that keep us from the joy.
yes. Yeah, it's wild. And I just got my like rewiring. I'm doing rewire right now. And it's like you get this like, packet or list of things that are sustainable solutions for you to take. This is the other thing too, like inspired action to better your life. And it's like, so it makes me feel so squirmy on the inside. But that's like the ego talking, right? Because there's what is that quote where it's like we'd rather stay in a familiar hell than experience an unknown heaven. And so it's like that. I just keep coming back to that. And like, this is kind of too tying into what we were just saying, like, as someone who holds space, like myself, like I'm always constantly looking like, okay, where can I be a student next? What else can I add to my toolbox? Because I know when I'm doing that, I'm going to be able to help more people. If I'm helping myself, I'm going to be able to help other people
Yes.
from different perspectives, with different tools. Because that's the thing too, is about like tapping into holistic health a little bit, it's like, you know, it's so bio individual. Like, and this is the thing when you think, you know, getting lost in like your own health and wellness journey and this, that, and the other thing. It's like no one, and I hate the word diet is going to work for everyone. One, you know, it's so particular to your life. And I'm not just talking about your physical life, your blood. I'm talking about who are the people that are surrounding you, what literally is in your environment. Like there are so many things that go into play here.
Yes, I totally agree. And it's, you know, a lot of the same themes come up like season after season. So season 2, I've talked with Katie Tukis a bunch, and she is a nutritional therapy practitioner. And we talk about this all the time. Like there is no one size fits all for anything. And that's why it's like, it's kind of about dipping your toe in or diving right in, depending on what kind of person you are, and just trying things. Like, you know, the people who tell me, oh, I've tried yoga once, it's not for me. It's like, oh, you tried it once. So that was like one teacher, one limited perspective. Like, and I'm not saying that yoga is like the one size fits all answer. It kind of is, but I won't have that argument with people. Like, if you want to try it, great. If not, like, I'm not going to fight you on it. Like it is the answer. Like you talk about the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, like it literally is the guidebook of life. Like you want a spiritually connected, like aligned body, mind, spirit, like get the most out of life you can possibly get, like live by this book. So, I mean, it literally is the science of well-being.
Yeah.
But like if you just try one thing one time, like you can't form a perspective around that. So for me, like acquiring all of these tools, like I just had this insatiable kind of energy that took over me of like, I have to figure out, I have to get to those root causes. I have to learn the most that I can. And then once I started to learn what worked for me, then it was like, oh, I have to actually teach this to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I definitely, that's kind of where I think a lot of us right now need to be. And I think that's too, like going through and working the break program, looking at it through like a spiritual lens really quick for me was like, and I say this out of joy too. Like it really allowed me to look at myself as the asshole. Like I really, you know what I mean? Like I think like it had a beautiful way of,
oh, I'm the problem.
yes, like where it's like taking radical responsibility for my life and everything I've done, that I'm doing, that I'm going to do, and then moving on and not dwelling and not, you know, anticipating and just living from this place of truth. That's mine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So just coming back to the basics, like, am I sleeping well enough? Is the quality and quantity good? Am I hydrated? What does my nutrition look like? Am I moving my body? Like like I am talking basic stuff. And for me, one of the things that's really come into play, especially in the past year, is purpose and community. And I don't think people realize how big of an effect that has on our well-being, because we think, oh, the supplements and the this and the that, and it's like there's so much that goes into it.
Yes, and talking about community, this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Because I grew up in like this crazy big Italian family, and like a theme of growing up was like it takes a village. Like my aunts and uncles were like supplemental parents, and my cousins and I were always together to the point where like 4 of my cousins are my best friends, and we pretty much talk every day and we're together all the time. And that sense
So
of
beautiful.
community just kind of like it's like the next generation of that community. And I really feel for people who don't have that. And because I have such a strong foundation in family and community, I think I've attracted a lot of people who don't. And that like over the last year, I've been very candid about my relationship.
Jay, I think your microphone went off.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, yeah, I hit the mute button by accident. Oh,
Ooh,
I know. Spirit just takes over these all of this
Yes,
and
what?
like,
Something's with us
yeah, like
today.
maybe trying to shut me up about that. And really a bulk of my work this summer has been moving past that. And, you know, I sat in the grief of it all and now like moving past that. But he was somebody who didn't have like a very big community background. And like, I feel sad for that. I feel sad for anyone who doesn't have that because, especially with the internet, I think we've become so connected through the internet, but it's actually pushed us further apart.
Yeah.
Because it's like the internet and these social spaces are like, in a lot of senses, it's like the illusion of community and connection. Like we see these people online and we think we really know them, but like,
Oh,
do we
there's
really
still
have?
this loneliness. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh God. Yeah. Are you
it's not the
kidding?
same as
No way.
like a
Human
neighbor or
touch.
yeah. And I know that's contradictory because we literally just said like our whole our whole friendship is like through the internet. But
I think there's medicine in it if
yes,
it's with the intention. Like you have to look at the intention, right?
yes, with
Yeah.
everything. You know, even
Exactly.
AI has been something that's been coming up a lot for me. And it's like, if we're using AI for good, then like,
Right.
where is the harm in that? And, you know, somebody could probably come up with a counter argument for me and like, great, I would love to hear it. But
Yeah.
with anything, like you can use it for good or bad. So like, what is your intention behind it? It's like, you know, I've been embracing the AI and I've been using it for a lot of my things. I mean, my editor and my what writes the show notes is now all AI. It's like I would be doing that. That's so hard. It's like, of course, like I would rather do it by a click of a button and have like a virtual assistant that's literally a robot. Like
Hell yeah. It's
I'm
here.
using
Use
it to
it.
get these episodes out.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So something that I also want to talk about is you just sent out an email yesterday, and I know this was kind of like a big audacious goal for you. Because you've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, and it's a milestone that you hit. So you hit 7 years of sobriety, and I just want to first and foremost celebrate that. I think that it's so courageous, and like you said in your email, like it doesn't have to be this rock bottom, like terrible moment. And, you know, I don't know too much about your story
Mm-hmm.
with that journey, but that was like so inspiring to me because I actually had this breaking point this weekend of like, okay, I have to give up the casual drinking. Like, I'm not somebody who drinks a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I'll go 30, 40, 50 days without drinking. And this
Mm-hmm.
summer, you know, I said I come from a big, crazy Italian family. So we like to celebrate. And in the summer, we're like, out on boats and it,
Mm-hmm.
no one no one on my dad's side of the family has really had an issue with drinking. My mom's side of the family is kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of like addiction on that side of the family. But my dad's side has always had like a healthy relationship with alcohol, and it was something that was always around because it's part of the culture. And no one like ever get too crazy. Like if my dad has 2 glasses of wine, that's like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But I have noticed with myself of like this social drinking pattern that I have. And I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Like, I never feel good after. It's been triggering like this crazy hangover anxiety. And it's not,
Anxiety.
yes, it's like I don't even have a hangover, but I actually have anxiety just because I drank what, you know,
Mm-hmm.
tequila has been my drug of choice.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. That was mine.
And I'm like, okay, I kind of have to stop this. Like, it's not good. It's not healthy. I don't need it. So, like, why am I doing this just because, like, oh, everyone else is having a couple glasses. So I want to have a couple glasses. But it's like, I never feel good after. It's never. So, my best friend Nikki and I were talking about it. We kept texting each other, like, in big capital letters, like, it's never worth it. Why are we doing this? It's never worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a deeply layered
Yeah.
um conversation because I
Yes.
think in Western culture in the United States, it's like a cure-all and it's there with everything.
Glorified like anything I've ever seen before. Like watch your favorite TV show. Like they are glorifying alcohol use. Like and not just alcohol use, but like binge drinking.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that
scary.
is what is glorified.
It's scary. And I
You're
think
it's a point
uh,
like you're I said this to myself this weekend. Like, you're literally micro poisoning yourself every time you do this to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, well, some people, call it Satan's juice or the devil's juice. And I think, I don't know very much about, like, I can't speak about the Bible because I've never studied it myself. I can't speak about the Quran because I've never, studied it myself. But I do know that it's, in some religions and cultures, it's forbidden to drink. It's forbidden. And even like in, what is it? I think it's in Arabic, like the way it's spelt is different. It alcohol or something, and it breaks down to be literally translated into body eating spirit. So like I've tried to, over these 7 years, I've tried to look at and just get curious, like, where is this coming from? What mask am I putting on? Like, even, I don't know, like, think about it too. Like, one of the things that I recently was reading, it was saying how like alchemists or, use alcohol to extract the essence of an entity. So like if you're making a tincture, you're basically putting alcohol with herbs or medicinal plants to take out like the good of that. And so when I look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And just even myself, like, okay, what was I pushing down? What could I not feel? What did I not want to feel? What mask am I putting on? And I was like, and these are things like I couldn't speak about this for the first few years because I was still trying to piece together in my mind, like, what was happening, what was I experiencing? And it wasn't like you had mentioned, like, I never really feel like I had this like crazy rock bottom. And I think I can say this here on this podcast, I had an audible voice come through and tell me, you're done, Dee. You don't need to drink anymore. In that tone, it was not
Just got the
angry.
goosebumps.
It was not angry. It was from spirit that was just like, I think you're done here. And I listened and I was like, oh my God, like, what did that voice need me to see and learn and whatever? And just stepping back now and like looking at things, but from like, instead of a shameful perspective, because I know I've done that and I've gotten stuck in that. And seeing like, if you were at a bar and you weren't drinking, I was buying you a shot because I was so uncomfortable that you weren't drinking. Okay. So like, there's just things that I've had to go back and look at and be like, why was I so uncomfortable? What's going on? And getting to the root of that. And I really feel like I did this all by myself in the beginning. And I feel like that's why it's important when we are going through something like this, and it's not even just alcohol. If you're cutting out sugar, if you're coming out of a toxic relationship, find help. It doesn't need to be, at AA or whatever. Like, I didn't have that opportunity. Like, I really didn't. It was not here where I am physically. So I couldn't do that. And I know now, like, maybe I could have found it online. I know there's some online now, but like you were saying, the human experience of being in person with someone is different. And it's such a layered conversation. So yeah, I mean, I feel very open now to speaking about it because I think more people should get curious about it.
Yes, and I think people definitely are. It's a conversation that's come up quite a few times, and more and more people I know in my sphere are turning towards a sober lifestyle. And I
Yeah.
think, like you said, we've been like masking something or like pushing something down, or like, we can go back to learned behaviors. Like, a lot of times it's like literally
Mm-hmm.
this behavior has been passed down through generations.
Yes, there's definitely that point of view that's in AA, they talk about it as disease and it comes down the line, and cycle breaking is a real thing I believe in. And too, there's people who I really want to speak to this too, because I feel like some people right now just might not even like beautiful life, like what have you, but the collective, what we are going through right now, you could be feeling the stress, the pain, just the grief of what's
Yeah.
happening right now. And that's what you turn to. And you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's a right and wrong to life, but I think that there are questions that we could be asking ourselves as to why or what we're turning to, to ease the grief or to ease the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just like cope with every day, whatever, insert your insert experience here. Like
Yeah.
there
I went, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
Going to mention really quick, because when I went back I was in Massachusetts in April with my son, March and April. And I was or even last year too, when my sister, we were celebrating her wedding and stuff. She's, bless her heart, she's the sweetest thing in the entire world. And she made sure that there was non-alcoholic beverages there. And, like there's and you can find that everywhere now. And
It's
I feel
so
like,
cool.
and that really like just made me feel like, okay, there is another option for people. You know what I mean? Like, even if like mocktails or whatever. And I'm glad that it's a conversation. I'm glad that it's actually a conversation, because I feel like before it was a taboo, or it was like, wasn't even a conversation. We don't talk about it.
Or even so, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this before, but even like how you said you were uncomfortable with somebody not drinking at the bar when you were a drinker. Now I've seen it happen where you're like not drinking and people are kind of like, why? Like, what was the bad thing? What was, like
Yeah.
people get weird when you're the one.
I was just
You're like,
watching this
oh no,
video.
no, thank you. I don't drink. People are like, oh,
Yes.
what happened? Like,
Yes.
people get
And
so weird.
so weird. I was watching this video where this guy was saying exactly what you're just saying. He's like, but if I tell somebody I don't drink water, they're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, like no one would
Like,
blink an eye.
what? Exactly. It's like, it's wild times. We are in wild times. And I think I'm happy that it's a conversation now, because I think even too, like, I had my ex-boyfriend, when we finally got to a place where we could have a conversation with each other, because we were like oil and vinegar. Is that the thing? Oil and water? What's the
Oil
thing?
and water, yeah.
Oh, I put oil and vinegar on my salad. Okay, anyways, so I was like, why didn't you say anything or do anything? And he was like, I didn't know how. And I was like, okay, so there's also something there too. Like, how do we help someone who we can visually see or understand that they might be having a hard time? Like, how do we go about that? Like, and I'm just posing this question to society, I think, because I don't think we should have to tiptoe around anymore and have the hard conversation and not feel, and it is a sensitive subject, I will say that, but
No, I completely agree. I
how
mean,
do we do that?
yeah, I know. Yeah. And I think there's a huge chunk of us now that are trying to like figure out how to weed through that. And I don't think that progress, and you can insert basically anything that we've talked about on this season of this podcast, like even look at the political sphere right now, like all of these things. It's like, if we don't have these uncomfortable conversations, there is going to be zero progress that's happening. We are going to start sliding backwards. We're not going to stay, like, if we keep accepting the status quo, eventually we're going to start. And I feel like we are in a backslide. And that's why some of us are like, oh, no, wait, we have to look at this. Like, we have to look at all these ugly, uncomfortable things. We have to have these uncomfortable conversations,
Yeah.
because if we don't, like, you know, I'll bring this up again. I talked about it with Danielle. But like the political sphere right now, like the closer we get to the election and the posts that I'm seeing, I just like it kind not like putting yourself up on a pedestal or anything like that, but like looking at people arguing over left and right. It's like, oh, the systemic dumbing down of society is a real fucking thing. Like, we done did it. Like, you're fighting over the same thing.
The division, to me,
Yes.
it just like coming from a, you know like looking down, zooming out, it's like this, I see, just, yeah, it just is creating more division, and I don't understand how we can move forward if we're not in union. And
And
it starts
that
with
doesn't mean
ourselves
that,
first.
yes. And it doesn't mean that we all have to agree on everything all the time, but we have to be willing to have these uncomfortable conversations in a respectful way.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't have to agree with everything that you say. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with everything that I say
No.
or agree with the way I live my life. But there is a mutual respect.
Ooh, yeah. Where'd that come from?
Like, I just feel like we've lost that. I feel
Yes.
like we've lost that.
And I think
And
it goes back to what we were saying about community and tribe and having a village. It's like the further that we got away from that, the easier the division becomes, right? Because we stop seeing the other person as a human being.
oh, girl, you just opened the portal of like mother real big.
I mean, it's
You just unzipped that real quick.
and it's
Because
not like I'm coming at this of a place of being perfect or
oh,
I'm still weeding through all of these things. I'm still working every single day to be a better person, to be a better version of myself, to see the humanity in other people because like sometimes I can be a judgmental bitch. It's like why I got into this work. Like I was a
you're a human.
fucking dumpster fire. Right.
You're human.
Right.
You're
And even
human.
still, like I was telling you a little, and like I'm not going to get too much into it, but like things that are going on in my personal life right now that are making me feel like a fucking fraud. And
Mm.
looking at trying to just look at it in a different way of like, I'm trying my best to lead with love and do the best that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm
I
not a
don't.
perfect person.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Internet, come for me. I dare you.
Yeah. No, but for real. And I think that there's just a huge disconnect from ourselves. I feel like we are so disconnected from ourselves. We are so and this is too like what I was trying to get at in that newsletter that I wrote. Is like we've just become so disconnected from our own self, mind, body, spirit. We've
Yeah.
come so disconnected from the earth. We've come so disconnected from our babies. We've come so disconnected from our families, our communities. And like what does that look like? And like I really do truly try to, like you were saying, like I'm not perfect either. I try to grow a lot of my own food, but I also need to go to the grocery store. Like there's one of my favorite things to remind myself or say to myself is like do what you can with what you have. Like start with the low hanging fruit and see what you can do and how
Yes.
can you
And
connect.
that's like the big thing about break method and the self study is like you don't have to change anything at all. Like
Yeah.
the first step is not changing anything at all. Like, so if you're, a lot of people get swept up in the like, oh, there's so much to change and fix and do. And it's like, no, sometimes you just have to be the observer.
Yes. Can you be non-reactive?
That's hard for this like fiery Italian girl. Like, yeah,
Oh,
air
please.
sun sign, but like I have like 5 planets in Leo. So it's like there's a lot.
Yeah.
And my rising is Sagittarius. There's a lot of fire there.
Oh, yeah, you are a windy fire.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's why I love you. Bring it on.
But
Come on
that,
in.
I think that's why I've done a lot of this work too, because I was somebody who was very like quick to anger, quick to temper, quick to like want to fight. And like I even see that now, like in this new healed version of myself, like even some things that like, are your trigger. Like I just want to fly off the fucking handle. Like that is my response.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And to be able to get to the point where you can see yourself and notice and be like, "Oh, I want to get so mad right now, but I'm actually going to just hug you and I'm going to tell you that I love you
I'm
and I'm
not
going to
quite
keep
there yet, but I'm working on it.
it." And it's a practice and it's not going to happen every time, but I think it's just like coming back to it and look at yourself first. I think we all need to look at ourselves first, and that's going to ripple outward. I think, even just doing it around my son too. Like he'll look at me and be like, "Mommy, relax." It's a trip.
That's
It's a trip.
funny. These kids that have like learned yogic tools right out the womb, they're going to be they're going to be the ones.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. But it's, and I mean, connecting them to the earth too, I think is so important. Holy cow. Because that's the other thing too. Like we try to not do a lot of screen time. But we also live in the middle of nowhere. So it's like really, I get it. I'm blessed. I know where we live is like, it's a beautiful place to be. And I'm really lucky to raise my child like I'm raising him. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of hards. Everyone has their hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pros and cons.
Yep.
But I think getting these kids with their hands in the sand and the dirt and letting them get muddy and letting them, like, I could go on and on about this, but I think it's good for it's just, they need to have that connection to the earth, because if we're going to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something. So my dad grew up on a farm in Italy and grew up very, very poor and not like the American experience at all. Like, I mean, he grew up in he was born in 1955, so he grew up in like the
Hundreds.
60s. But he didn't have electricity or running water. Like they grew
Yep.
up very different from what the 1950s, 60s, 70s were in the United
US.
States. So he's been Americanized for sure, but I think I've seen little glimpses of it in the way that we grew up. Because we were the last generation that didn't really grow up with internet. I remember the day that we got a computer and it wasn't even connected to dial-up or anything like that. Like it was literally just a computer that had like, whatever. I don't even know. It was before Microsoft Word even.
Wasn't it just like a black screen with like green codes?
Yeah.
Why do I think that
Yeah.
that's like I don't know either.
We didn't even have that. It was like when Windows first kind of became a thing, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, there was like basically whatever you could do without the internet. It's like what you had. I remember when we first got dial-up. But anyways, we grew up in rural Rhode Island. We were like very Western Rhode Island. So a lot of farmland, we grew up on a lot of land. We had neighbors, but they were like very far away. And as soon as we would come home from school, like my mom would be like, okay, hour to play, like get outside, go run, do what you have to do, and then we'll come in and do homework. And being outside was like there was so much importance on that. And my grandfather had a giant garden. My dad had a giant garden. We had fruit trees that lined our entire property. Like we did grow up pretty connected to the earth. Like we were outside as much as you could be. And in the summer, my mom used to actually threaten us with camp. Like she would be like, if you don't behave, you are going to camp.
Oh shit.
But she took us to do like, we went to Camp Gina. Like that's what it was. And she always like we were on the beach. There's this place down here called the Umbrella Factory, and it's like a co-op, like little shops and stuff, and they have like chickens running around and a bamboo forest. Like these were the things that we did. We even if it was raining, we were outside. Like she did not care.
It's so important. It's so important. And even too, like I think for anyone who's listening to this that's a parent that has not read Hunt, Gather, Parent, please go pick that book up. I mean, even if you're not a parent, I think I think you would like it. Read it for your future self. But one of the things that they talk about, the woman talks about in the book, is she went to like 4 very distinctive tribes and communities in like different corners of the earth and just like studied how they raise their children. And a lot of them, what they do is like, even like for Alessandro, my son, if he gets upset, I'm like, all right, we got to go outside. Like, let's go outside. And you will see it change in an instant. And they're so, you're grounding, you're earthing, you're literally being charged by the power of the earth's magnetic force when you step on the ground without shoes on.
Yeah.
Like nature is so powerful. And I pray that we don't forget that, or,
or that we're part of it.
Yes. Can everyone please just go listen to The Colors of the Wind from the Pocahontas soundtrack, because it will change your life.
That was my favorite movie growing up.
Same. That was like, I was not a princess Barbie girl, but that was like my jam.
Well,
That was my
also,
jam.
like, I didn't look like any of the Disney princesses because I had like dark olive skin, dark hair, dark eyes. So, like, I
Sure.
I
Yeah.
resonated with Jasmine and Pocahontas because they looked like me.
Yes. Right on. Yeah. But it's just, remember the elements of nature and honor them, and how can you bring them into your life? And, even coming full circle to what we were even just started talking about, like turn your phone on to the red light at a certain hour of the night. Like, I was actually just talking to Edgardo, the other day. I'm like, I cannot stand, because we're solar power. So we have a lot of our lighting is LED, just because that takes up less power from our system. And I was like, I don't know if anyone listening knows how to mitigate that, please
Reach
let me
out.
know. Yeah, yeah. But I was like, what would be actually really cool and like romantic is like if we put like if you could weld me some like really cool candle fixtures, and like at a certain when the sun goes down, we are putting candles on,
Candles.
and like, yes, can we not only romanticize our lives but also just like come back to that, like we're supposed to be around a campfire, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that kind of vibe and energy, bringing that color back into the home and into like, I'm just so curious to
I
see
know because
what
I mean,
change.
the studies are starting to roll out about blue light. Like, there's no arguing anymore that it is harmful for your health. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, and it's well, isn't there a thing?
I
I
wonder
don't
if
know
you
if this
could
is
get the color changing LED lights because I know they have them. That it's like by a remote control, but you can change the color of them. So I'm
okay.
pretty sure there's a red setting. You should look into that.
Okay, yeah, I will, because I feel like a chicken in a factory sometimes. Like if I'm cooking dinner a little bit too late, I'm like, yo,
The
I
most
cannot function like
unhealthy,
this.
the most unhealthy time of my life was when I was working for, I don't know if I can say this, but I was working for Victoria's Secret. And all of the lights in there are halogen and fluorescent lights. And I was in there for like 12 hours a day, 8,
Yeah,
10, 12 hours a day. And it was literally the most unhealthy time of my life.
yeah,
And I used to say it all the time. I used to fry under those lights. I would be like, there is something like before I even knew, before I was even connected, before I was even like into the yoga or the spirituality or health, any of it. I was like, there's something with these fucking lights. Like, I know it. I
yeah.
know
Your soul knew.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, isn't it true that is it in the US? I have to do some research here. But you can't even buy incandescent lights anymore.
Oh, I don't
Is
know.
that a truth?
I
I
don't
also don't want to be like spreading misinformation, but like,
I actually don't know the answer to that. Because I've never really had to buy light bulbs before, so I don't know. I've always just lived in an apartment and it's like part of your, yeah, like you just uh,
I don't know.
maintenance,
I
like,
feel
hello,
like,
my light is out.
because I know on like in one fixture I have, it's very open concept in here. And like in one of the fixtures, it's like, I'm pretty sure they're LED lights, but it's like yellow. I was like, do not get the white, get the
Yeah.
yellow. So it's like a different, so maybe I
Yeah,
have
I
to see
know
if I can get.
they do have different hues.
Yeah. Well, because this is the thing is like the syncing of the circadian rhythm is so
Yes.
real. That's another basic thing that I'm really trying to get back to. So it's like, when you're looking at your phone at 8 o'clock at night, your body thinks it's high noon.
Yeah. You're getting
And that's why
charged
you
up
can't
by
fall
this blue
asleep.
light. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you can't sleep. And that's why when you wake up, you feel like shit. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's so crazy.
Well, and it also, I mean, the phone thing is like so layered as well because like now you're going into like, okay, talk about addiction. It's a dopamine hit.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So like, who am I without my phone? Who am I without this app or that app? Or who am I without, touching it from the hours of 6 p.m. to 10 a.m.? Like, just who am I? Like, you know what I mean? And then the scary thing is too, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I've done this and I'm like, whoa, yeah, we've got to make some changes there. Actually done that. And then like looked around to like touch it, like to find it and like turn it on or like look at something or like, Gardo asked me a question the other night and I was like, I don't know, like look it up on Google real quick and see what it says. Like, if you don't have that, like what are you going to do? Can you hold on to that? Can you hold on to that curiosity? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I bet no one has encyclopedias in their house anymore where you can go and look it up.
Right.
But it's just like have these little experiments with yourself and like find out a little bit more about who you are, like what's going on in there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it gave us a way to like never have to sit alone, never have to sit quietly with our thoughts. Like, again, just observing, like, are you one of those people where if like there's not a lot going on in your sphere, like, do you have music playing? Do you have the TV on? Are you just listening to
I
kind of white noise? Are you distracting yourself with your phone?
Yeah. Like I am the freak that goes to the coffee shop and sits down and eats my breakfast without technology in front of me.
I think that's such a brave and beautiful practice. It's funny because I actually just saw a video about this too. Um, about like allowing yourself to just go and be the one person that's not on your phone and just like observing what's happening around you.
Wild. If I could get paid to people watch, oh, I would be a fucking millionaire. Swear to God. I remember when I used to work at the airport with Jamie, actually, that was like my favorite thing.
Oh my
Just
gosh,
like
that's so funny. This is a new
hysterical.
story for me. I didn't know you
Oh,
guys worked at the airport.
we have so many good stories, but it was so much fun. But I used to love just like watching the people.
Well, that's like a great, I mean, what better place? First of all,
Oh,
people are like so wildly out of their natural habitat and like everyone is nervous as soon as you walk into the airport. Like everyone's panicking.
yeah. And that was like before all the smartphone craze and all the stuff. So it was like even more fun because people really were like, you know,
In it.
just, yeah, in it for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think, it's also too just like tapping into your own system and gut health too. Like just to bring that up, when you're sitting and you're eating food and you're watching something or you're like, and it's striking emotion within you. So like, for example, I'm watching posts on Instagram say about the political environment in the United States and I'm eating something. What do you think? How do you think your body's going to digest that food that's going in? It can't. Let me
Right.
tell you, it can't.
No, because you're putting yourself in fight or flight. Like, so
You cannot
your
digest.
digestive system is like, nope.
Turned off. It's literally turned off and you cannot absorb the nutrients, the minerals so it doesn't even matter if you're eating,
The
you
most
know,
nutritious meal.
yeah, because what you consume isn't just the food on your plate. It's also what you're watching, what you're eating, what you're listening to, what you're even just listening to some of the music that's coming out nowadays. I'm like,
No,
oh
I know. I
God.
used
I
to
mean,
love Eminem and I listened to one of his new songs and I was like, like I used to berate my dad, but like this is literal devil work. Like this is a spirit and entity coming through. Like this is not art.
yeah, it's all tits and ass. And I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Gee, we used to like go to Club
I
Hell in
yes,
Providence. Like that's
yes,
what it was called.
I know.
And like just listen to Akon. And don't get me wrong, when I hear those songs, I do like to dance around a little bit and remember the good times. But like when you look at it through a different lens, you can be like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa.
Yeah. It's like, what is the energy that you're absorbing?
Yeah. Exactly. It's energy because we are energy. And so
Yeah.
what are you allowing into your realm? Like it's gonna affect you. It's gonna affect you in ways that you might not even
So there's a
comprehend.
new genre of music that I'm like really getting down with. And did you know that healing house is now
Yes.
it is now a genre of music. Like, hello, we've made it.
I just electrified my whole body. That is the only thing I will listen to now. Literally.
I've been
The
like
only
trickling
thing.
it into my yoga classes here and there. And yeah, it's fun.
Is yes, 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 yes.
If
I
anyone
love it.
if anyone knows a healing house DJ, send them my way because I have a vision of doing in person like yoga events, DJ'd to like healing house, and then just like
Yeah. Well, I feel like one girl that I also know from social media, she does something called Dance Church. on Sundays where
Oh
you
my
just
gosh.
go, you don't talk. I was like, this concept I need to bring somewhere. But like, you don't, so please take this and run with it, G. Like, do it when maybe we could do it when I come.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But like, um, no one talks. You just show up. And like she told me she like sets up different stations too in the room. So like if you need to sit down on a meditation pillow for a second, if you need to go and like rub yourself with essential oil, you can go over here. If you want to grab a hula hoop, you can go over here. Like, but you just, there's no talking. It's just the music is blaring and you're literally just moving your body. And I think if it was done to the healing house music,
Yeah. Like I need that in my life. That
yeah,
sounds like a party I want to be at.
me too. I think it would be so fabulous.
I would just love to see like more, as a single person, it is very like, where do you go meet somebody? The bar? Like, where do you
I
go?
would love to ask you that question. I live literally in the middle of nowhere, so I have so many questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, where
Where do you go? What do you
you
do?
go? What do you do? Even if you're like seeing somebody, like, what's the first thing you do? Oh, you go out for dinner and drinks.
Mm,
And this is something that I've been looking at because it's like, oh, if you are operating on that kind of like wavelength, then that's kind of going to be the only thing that you have in common. I mean, it's not going to be the only
mm,
thing, but it's going to be like the foundation of the thing that you have in common. And like, I need more than that.
yeah, no, you do. You
I
need
need
more than
more
that.
than that. So yeah, it's very interesting to look as a 30 something year old that is like starting to date again.
Mm-hmm. And look at like what events are around that you could go to that would,
Yeah.
and not necessarily go like, but I feel like again, coming back to intention, like, can you do things for yourself? And if that person is there, mejor, like better for you both, like, can you go to dance church for yourself, but then the love of your life is there? And you know what I
Right.
mean? I feel like that's what I want for you.
But there needs to be more events like that.
Right. Yes.
Like
So
that
maybe
it's
this is what you need to be doing.
yeah, this is the work. This is the and it's funny because I've been thinking about it because Tori, who's been on the podcast before too, um,
Yeah.
she does herbal mocktails and that is her work.
Yeah. I
And
love
she is
her
somebody who was
content.
like, I know, it's literally the most beautiful, informative, like amazing. She just does like such an amazing job.
Yeah.
Her social media is such it's a resource, really.
Yeah. She's good at her content's great.
But yeah, like I would love to see more spaces like that open up where it's like let's elevate the vibe a little bit. Like let's all step up a little. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's
that's where
just
I'm
go
at.
and be weird. Let's
Yeah,
just
let's
go
go
be
and be
weird.
weird.
And yeah. Yeah. I mean, age of Aquarius, baby. Let's ring it in with bells on. Why not? You know?
Yes, I'm ready for it. I think we are starting to create those systems. I mean, literally listen to everyone who's been on the podcast this season alone, like are
Mm-hmm.
really people who are out there doing the work for themselves first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the biggest piece, the most important piece, because when you are operating from a place of authenticity and integrity, which is something that I brought up on my social media last week that I didn't say too much about, but I can get into that later. Um, but people who are really operating from this place of authenticity and integrity, it really does have a tangible ripple effect out.
Yeah.
And I want this to be a celebration of people like that who are doing this work because we're really setting the tone for what's to come next. And I know it's going to be better than this. Like there are some like major, amazing changes in society and humanity that we're already starting to see. We're already starting to see it.
Yeah, it's coming.
And I'm like so
We got to
excited.
hold that flame. Yeah, we got
Yes.
to hold the flame. We got to hold, I just like I see, yeah, I see it too. I see people coming. I see too a lot of on our land where we are. I see things and I'm excited for the future. And it's when you're in the muck.
Yes. It's hot. Yes. And that transition phase, like I've said this before too, and like being in it on a personal level of like a very small, like just like personal journey, that space of change and transition and like that place of like birth, like that place where you're coming into this like
Mm-hmm.
death and rebirth is like the most excruciating hard place to be. So now we're like all going through it on an individual level, but like also collectively. So like
People
yeah,
are
like
feeling it.
yes, like let's gather some tools. Let's assist one another. Let's hold space for one another.
Yeah.
Let's have
Yeah. And that's the
grace.
thing. Yeah. That's the thing is you've got to find the people that are going to hold your hand in the muck and not push away. I know you mentioned
Or
this a lot is
enable. Like
yeah, not
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Enable it or push it away with toxic positivity and just like, can you actually just hold my hand here?
yeah.
Can you just hold my hand? And I think some people it's just hard. And I know for me too, that maybe that's a piece of why I was like, no, I'd rather take a shot of tequila. But I don't know.
It's a joke, but seriously.
It's a joke, but I feel now that on the other side that I would gladly and feel honored to hold anyone's hand in the muck. And I think that that's kind of what I'm coming into and seeing as a spiritual cheerleader to like hold your hand and from like such a non-judgmental space and like holistically individualize what how can I support you? And I hope that more people can do that for other people. And I know that other people, you do it for other people. I'm sure everyone on this podcast has done it for other people, does it for other people. And I think that is the beauty that's coming, the community that's coming, that's being born. We're sitting in the birth canal of something. And, you know,
That's going to totally set the tone for
that's also,
future generations. Like that.
in our generation, we've been through so much,
I know.
and we've got, I feel like we have,
Or even the generations behind. Like I am very close to my cousin he'll be 22 next month. And he was born right after 1 year after 9/11. So like he has only seen war
yeah,
and terrorism and turmoil and political upheaval and just like that
yeah,
generation was literally just like at least we had a few years of like, oh,
yeah. We had a good time.
good.
That's the thing too. Like, yeah, I had a good time. Even though we're going through some stuff, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
But we're here to bridge the gap, I feel like, um, through a
Yeah.
lot of what's happening.
Yeah. And it's like why I've talked about why, and it's funny because Break Method just posted about this, I think yesterday, like the positive affirmations thing that can't be your coping mechanism because you're not healing the root and like you're only ever going to be stuck in this place of like toxic positivity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
how can you weed through that to get to the root of that so that like that is just your operating
It's an
mechanism?
added. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I totally agree with that. And I appreciate that. And I think too, like if you can get to a place where you're using affirmations as an extra, great. But I don't think it's not the inspired action that's going to create change. Right.
Yeah.
Like we have to put one foot in front of the other.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the small changes, like you've talked about it and Stefan talked about it too. And it's how my own healing journey happened. It's like I didn't get right into like this spiritual nitty gritty. I healed my gut first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That was that was the first step. And I talk about it on that podcast. It's like, oh, if your gut is imbalanced, like how do you listen to it? How do you trust it?
Bingo. Yeah. And I mean, it's connected to everything. The gut is connected to everything. And even too, like, that's why a big piece of what I had written in that newsletter was like about gut healing, because when you stop drinking or anything that's toxic, even sugar, like you need to really love on your gut, you know, and just coming full circle too, to come back to the basics, like the best is I think some people get so lost in like, oh, I have to have this probiotic or that or this. Yeah, but like, can you eat sauerkraut? Can you go for a walk? Because the best probiotic that I'm starting to find is exercise.
Wow, interesting. Well, we
That
love
like,
to
what do
talk
you get from
we love
exercise?
we
Like
love to talk about
serotonin.
hot takes. So like here we go. No one in the fitness industry is talking about this.
I mean, where is serotonin created?
In the gut.
In the gut. How do you gain serotonin?
I mean, even talk about the gut brain axis. So people who suffer from like anxiety, depression, insert your ailment.
Mm-hmm.
If your gut is imbalanced, like your brain is imbalanced, then all of your nervous system is imbalanced, and then all your organ systems are imbalanced. So like, yeah, literally every part of your health starts with your gut. Even your mouth health starts in your gut.
Oral health is huge. Yeah, your gut. I think I'm going to be doing a gut 101 workshop. So for anyone that's
Oh, I love
interested in
that.
listening, stay tuned. But I think that's one of the big pieces is like people, when they hear gut health, they think it's just like their intestines, their stomach. It's from your mouth to your anus, ladies and gentlemen. It runs all the way down. So like so we're not just talking like toothpaste mouthwash situation, which I would maybe get into. We're talking like, how are you cleaning your toilet bowl? Okay, like what's going on there? All of that has to do with gut health. And I don't think a lot of people realize. And it's just these tiny little tweaks you can do.
Tiny little tweaks. I mean, even just starting off with like eating more local produce. And if that's not an option, like eat a little bit organic. If that's not an option, just wash your fucking vegetables.
Amen.
Like really,
Amen.
like really wash them.
Yeah.
Like not
That's
just
the
run
other
them
thing
under
too.
cold water, like actually wash them.
Vinegar, some baking soda, scrub it out, get in there and keep going. Like if you're creating biodiversity within your gut, you're good. I promise.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that complicated, like less processed food, more
Yeah.
homemade food, less seed
Mm-hmm.
oils. That's a big one for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's
It's
like
so hard because it's in everything.
it's
That's the
in
thing
everything.
too.
And even like if you're eating out, like it's seed oils. Like even if you ask for butter, like their butter is cut with seed oils. Like it's what makes it spreadable.
Yeah, it's a you. I think you were the person who was like, you kind of have to be a health freak in
You
order
kind of, yeah.
to like eat correctly, or I shouldn't say eat correctly, but like be health conscious.
Yeah.
You have to be kind of a freak. And like I
Yeah.
always joke with my sister, because my sister is a pharmaceutical doctor, and I was like, Cassie, you just, when you're looking at food in the grocery store and you look at the ingredients, if you can't pronounce the word, or if it's 5 ingredients or more, you can't pronounce a word that's in the ingredients, put it down. She's like, Deirdre, I can pronounce everything.
Oh,
I was like,
love
touche.
love those science people.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a good rule to follow. Like, because
Yeah.
any quote unquote diet you're going to put yourself on, what's the main thing they talk about? Eating whole food.
Yeah. And that's the most sustainable thing. Like these diets where you're like measuring foods or, whatever it is, like those are not sustainable. But if you are eating whole foods,
Mm-hmm.
like one ingredient, just like
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that.
You can't. You really,
And a lot of
really.
these diets like keto and paleo and like all of these other diets, they work because you're cutting out processed ingredients. That is the
Bingo.
secret. That's the secret.
There it is. There it is.
Well, this I
Amazing.
feel like we made it sound way more complicated than it is. I feel like we went on kind of like a
We're the
wild
tangent
ride.
queens. Yeah.
Yes, we definitely are. But no,
Swirly
it's really
fire.
not. And that was one of the things. So when I was healing my gut, it's funny because I actually went paleo when I was healing my gut in my 20s. Um,
I think it's
but
necessary sometimes. I will
yeah,
say that.
the biggest thing was the processed food. Like that's where I noticed the biggest difference was like not eating all of these things that have added gums and
Mm-hmm.
dextrose and polysorbate and all of these things. Like cutting that stuff out made the biggest difference because all of those things are inflammatory to your gut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you have to just like, I know you say this a lot too, is like you have to just use your discernment, because I think
Yes.
a lot of these people that put products out on the market are also experts. So they're like producing gluten-free granola bars or this or that. turn the box around and read the ingredients and tell me what's in it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very passionate about this. I love sourdoughing. That's like my hobby. It's funny. I started probably like 8 years ago dabbling in it. And then I was like kind of unsuccessful. So it just like trickled away. And then last November-ish, probably, my cousin was his girlfriend is has gluten intolerance. And so he wanted to get into the sourdoughing for her. And he was like, I have a little bit of starter. It's like really active. Do you want it? And I was like, sure, I'll give it a try again. And I did. And first of all, it like was the mental health bolster that I needed. Like it just like
I cannot wait to eat some of your
baking
sourdough.
my depression away. Like baking
you got to
my
do what
grief
you got to
away.
do.
Yeah, like it really just, it was one of those tools, like how meditation and yoga has been like a tool that's just helped support me through my journey of well-being. Like figuring out how to bake sourdough has been kind of like the same for me.
It's great. You should do something with that.
It's funny.
I
So
think
many
it's
people keep asking me to do like a workshop just to like teach them how. And
good.
it's like, I'm like, I don't know. It's going to take the fun out of it for me.
Okay, well, I'll learn from you and I'll make the
Yeah.
videos for you and then you can just put it out.
Yeah. I love that.
I'll do that. I'll do that for you, Dee. I have no problem.
I love that. I have a Google Doc of successful recipes, and there's like over 35 people in that Google Doc. And I've
Amazing.
given my starter, which was my cousin's original starter, to probably close to 15 people.
Amazing. Changing lives. Changing
And
lives.
it goes back to that community thing. Like, not only are we healing our gut, but like there is an element of community to it because we're like all nerding out about this and like sharing recipes and, oh, I did this and this worked. I did this and it fucking failed miserably. Like, it's figuring out these, like we've demonized bread. And this is going back to what I said. Like, if you're going to the grocery store, the bread that you're buying at the grocery store has like 10, 12 ingredients in it.
Yeah.
My most complicated bread recipe has 5 ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I go back to community and sharing and like this big Italian culture. It's like I love sharing these things with people. So like, yeah, I'm going to make like 2 or 3 loaves at a time. I'm going to make like 2 giant calzones that are going to serve like 30 people. And the consensus that keeps coming back is like, oh, I didn't get like the carb crash, or like I felt this way, or like my uncle gets really bad heartburn from bread, and it's like, yeah, well, because the bread you're eating, like it's not just flour, water, and salt. Like,
yeah,
there's like so many inflammatory things in there. So like, yeah, it's causing heartburn because like that's just inflammation. That's just inflammation.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a really cool thing to share with people. And it's something that's brought joy back to it's literally brought joy back to my life.
I love that. Joy. Yes. How can you bring more joy in?
Even just like baking something and bringing it to someone and gifting it. Like that's one of my love languages is like I'm a gift giver. Like I love giving gifts. And so to have this gift that you like make yourself to give to someone, like I brought 2 loaves of bread to my brother-in-law's grandmother's house a couple months ago, and literally there was not one crumb left within 10 minutes. Everything was gone.
It's just
and
so good.
Just the joy and like people just like enjoying, like how simple is that, like enjoying a piece of bread with butter, but like it just like made everyone giddy and like brought us all together, and like that's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It doesn't have to be sourdough. Like insert your thing.
Yes.
It's just one of these tools that has worked for me. Like breath work, like meditation, like yoga. It's just one of these tools.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I love having you. I think we have some of the best conversations. You keep it real and authentic, and that's what I love here. Like we're not pretending to be some spiritual high leader that's like above the rest. It's like we're in the thick of it with everyone else. Like we're doing this work because we are, or we're a dumpster fire.
Yeah, we're here with our masks off, just dancing around the fire.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Well, stay
yeah.
tuned for maybe like some ecstatic dance yoga events.
Yeah. Coming at you
Looking,
live.
looking for healing house DJs. Send them my way.
Yeah.
Anyone in the southern New England area.
Oh, yeah. Let's make that a reality. I'm going to put that on the burner.
Yeah. And some gut healing workshops from D.
Yeah. They're coming. They're coming down the line.
Yep. I feel them. We're just like in
Okay.
this blossom transition. Like,
Up level.
yes.
Let's go. Let's move.
Yeah. Oh, this past year and a half has been hard.
You're good, Jay. You're good.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Alrighty. I think this is where we wrap it up. If
All
anyone
right,
wants to
girl.
connect with you, how can they find ya?
You can find me on Instagram at anahata.yoga.bienestar. Or you can email me, just my name. You can put in the show notes, maybe.
Yeah, I will definitely do that.
Yeah. Permission to slide into my DMs.
Yes, use the internet in an intentional, healthy way
Yeah.
for
Don't be
real
weird.
connection.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Oh, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Love you too, girl.
Thank you for
See you
listening to
soon.
this episode. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, share it with somebody you love, share it with somebody who needs the message, or just somebody who is on the journey. We'll see you next time.